المسيح لنا سؤال نريد.
If you read this out of context, this actually makes no sense. But when you read in context, this makes sense. So I have the Bible in front of me, and the context starts in verse 31 and goes to verse 32. What this is talking about is a problem that the people at the time were having. Men were divorcing their wives for no good reason. And in this text, it states there's one good reason to divorce your wife: adultery. There's one good reason for divorce: adultery. That is it. Now, under the state, under the time period, under the town that they were in, that you can get a divorce no matter what, as long as you had the paper. And what Jesus is saying here is the only thing that you can get a divorce for is adultery. So if you don't get a divorce because of adultery, it's not a legitimate divorce, meaning you are still married. So a woman that got divorced by her husband for no good reason other than because I don't like her is still, under God's eyes, married to this man. So to get married while still married to this man would be committing adultery. That's what the passage is talking about. The thing about Ephesians 5 and verse 22 is that it doesn't stop at verse 22. It actually continues going on and talks about what the husband is supposed to do for the wife. So no, this isn't diminishing to a woman. In fact, this is talking about the relationship between Christ and the church. Let me read it for you. Wives, submit yourselves unto your husbands and unto the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let their wives be their own husbands in everything. And what's the command for the husband? Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it. So wives, submit to your husbands, and husbands, love your wife up until the point of death. How is this diminishing to a woman? Or how is this a gotcha moment in Christianity? Exodus 21:7 is hard to talk about because it involves context, culture, and time, and I don't have a lot of time to talk about it. What I will say about it is not talking about someone that's given away to be done with and horrible things happen to them. If you actually read, it's talking about laws that are to be done with this person. In fact, in verse 10, it says that if the man that's taken this woman takes another wife, her food, remnant, and her duties of marriage shall not be diminished. So he can't just get rid of this woman and do whatever he wants to her. There's laws literally stating that he has to take care of her. Other than that, you have to read verse 8 as well, which states that he hath betrothed her unto him. This is talking about a marriage that has been put together. This can also be in context of that a debt is trying to be paid, or if man is trying to get a better benefit for his family. I love the first 5 books of the Bible because a lot of people try and use it against Christianity when we're not under the law anymore. In fact, when we actually read this, it starts in verse 22 and goes down to verse 29. And it talks nothing about being forced in verse 28 and 29. In fact, it talks about being forced in verse 28 when it says a man forces himself. And then it goes on in context to say that the man is to be put to death. In verse 28, it says that they be found, or that this is a loving relationship or consensual relationship. So while one is talking about two people that are doing an act, verse 25 is talking about one person doing an act. That's why when verse 29 and 30 come along, they say that this is what's going to happen, that both are going to end up together, and man cannot leave her no more because he has taken and humbled her or taken her innocence. So no, this is not talking about a forceful act. This is talking about a consensual act.